Hi everyone, welcome to the testing class. Today again we will be covering the TCS testing interview questions and what all rounds that you will be attending when your resume is shortlisted. One of my colleague uh, gone through the same rounds or same. He has the same experience while giving TCS interview. So as per his experience, I have noted down all those things that he has faced in TCS interview for testing analyst or testing interview software testing. So there were, four rounds in the interview. So as you can, the rounds are such as first round is resume shortlisted. So this is the basic round in which HR used to select your resume on the basis of what all details you have put in the resume. So how your resume got listed. So many of us faced a lot of challenges that he or she is not getting a lot of call for interview, though they have written details in their resume. So it might be possible that you haven't put some relevant details in the Naukri portal or whichever portal you are using for job searching. So suppose if you are applying for testing and you haven't put as that or testing analyst or software testing keywords in your resume, then it might be a chance that your resume is not picked by picked by the HRs. So this is the you can say precondition for selecting or your resume for job interview. So the first round is resume shortlisting. So once your resume is matching or with the requirement of job description that the HR has, then you might get a call regarding it. So the first round is resume shortlisting. Second round is technical round, and it is followed by one-to-one round with one of the technical. If you clear the technical round, and after clearing the second round of this one-to-one, then you will be having a HR round where HR will discuss the other details with you regarding the job and the expectation of hiring manager and all. So as you have cleared the resume shortlisted round, suppose, and you got a call from HR and they scheduled the interview. The important part is like technical round. So when I say the important part or the importance of technical round is like whatever you have written in your resume, this is the important thing that you should know those details which you have mentioned in your resume. Suppose if you haven't worked on uh, Jenkins or Cucumber and you have mentioned that you worked on Cucumber, so there might be a chance that the interviewer will ask you question about it. And if you got confused by explaining those things, then it might give the negative impact of yours. If you haven't, if you don't know about that concept, then just clearly say no. And it would be better that if you doesn't worked on any of the concept, then clearly do not write those things in your resume. So you have to think about it that the detail that is available in your resume is relevant and you know about it. Sorry. So the first question is like, the suggestion is like prepare all the basic testing question. So the basic testing question might be what is sanity, what is smoke testing, what is test cases, what is a test scenario, and all those defect related thing and all those things. So these are the basic testing question, like testing principle and all those things. Second question is functional non-functional testing. So if you are saying that you are, I mean, doing manual testing and you use functional testing, so the interviewer might ask you what are the non-functional testing that can be done. So when I say non-functional testing, the testing could be your reliability testing, your usability testing, your efficiency testing, your I mean the efficiency contain itself the load testing, performance testing, portability testing, and security testing, all those things. So if you have mentioned these things in your resume, like you have done load testing, then interviewer might ask you about the details of load testing, like what tools you have used. Are you using any tools, or you are just doing some basic of these load testing or volume testing, something like that. So you have to be very specific about the, or very clear about the detail that you put in your resume. The second, the another question is cross browser testing. So every interviewer wants like if you are doing testing, then you should know the cross browser testing, like what all browser can be covered, or how to do testing on Chrome browser, or you can say Firefox, Mozilla, and web, as well as web, and different environments. Even they prefer, like if you are using Windows for the cross browser, I mean, if you have done the same thing on different OS, then it would be very good. Just explain them like these all things that you have done, or that you used to do while doing cross browser testing. That includes your cross browser as well as cross platform testing. The another question is regression testing and retesting difference. So this is very important question. Regression testing and retesting, you have to be very specific about retesting, what is retesting and what is regression testing. So whenever you, I mean, the developer fixes the defect and you are going to test them, that is retesting. And if you are going to check the impact of those fixed defect in your existing system to verify that existing system doesn't impact by these changes, that is regression testing. So you have to, I mean, you should know the, I mean, basic details or about regression testing, retesting. So this is the very important question that will be asked your in your interview. Another question is bug and defect difference and definition. So what is defect and what is a bug? When you raise a bug, what is that? When you raise a issue, what is that? So what is error? So interviewer might ask you about the definition and I mean the real life scenario when you raise the defect, bug, or error. So they might ask you. The again important question of manual testing is severity and priority. So this is very important question. So what is the difference between severity and priority? Who used to give the severity? Who used to give the priority? And as a QA, what you will do? Are you going to give the severity, or are you going to provide the priority of that? He might ask you some, give me some example of high severity, low priority, low severity. So you have to give the answer as per your experience. Suppose you have worked on any application, any web application or any mobile application. So you might have faced like suppose you have raised a defect, and this is, I mean, breaking a lot of thing in your application. So that is already a high severity issue. But is it the priority of the team of the product owner? Then they used to decide the priority. So you, I mean, interviewer can ask you about the priority or high priority, low priority scenarios like you have raised as a QA. The again next question is tell about if you have find any defect or bug during testing. Tell me, tell them how you found the defect, the effectiveness of that defect, and what steps you have taken to check if it is really a bug or a test plan issue. So what does this line say? If you find, so interviewer might ask you the the what all critical defect you have found so far in your project, and what are the steps that you have taken. Suppose you are testing an API as a manual tester and you find some, I mean, very crucial, very important defect. So what are the steps that you have done to identify the fact, how you what steps you have taken to reproduce it, so that you can get the clear confirmation that this is a defect. What evidence you have you recorded the video? So I mean, interviewer want to listen the same from you, that have you recorded the video, have you found the, I mean, any server logs or any logs for the same, that data that is coming from the application and the logs that is generating is different, and what we are expecting, that is different. So I mean, what steps you have taken as a QA? So I mean, the interviewer, I mean, want to listen. The again question is like, I mean, if you have worked on Cucumber, or if you have written Cucumber in your resume, then interviewer might ask you about the Cucumber. So what is Cucumber, what is BDD, and what is the language that used in Cucumber, and the other keywords of Cucumber, like given, when, then, background, and what are hooks, and all those things. So these are related to automation. If you have written that you are also doing automation, then you have to answer all those questions. So if you are working with Git, you should know the command of Git, like what all command used to do for rebasing, cloning, creating a remote, or I mean, committing your code or pushing your code through Git command or through any IDE. So you, I mean, if you mention those things, then you should know about these things. The Jenkins, like I mean, what all you have done through Jenkins. Have you scheduled any nightly run or any Jenkins pipeline for your daily execution? What are the parameter that is available? How you can incorporate? I mean, if you're working in a Maven project, how you are I mean, how you are incorporated the pom.xml or testng.xml, and how you link your Git repo to the Jenkins pipeline, and again the Java. So that is already a, I mean, big topic like Java. uh, so we'll, I mean, cover in the next video. And if you mentioned that you have worked on some database testing or some querying related thing, so they can ask you about the query. So nowadays people used to ask, or interview used to ask a lot of question, I mean, regarding duplicate or second highest or nth highest row or record in ASQL table. So the table might be, I mean, self join, you might be using self join and all those things. So you should know about these things. And the next question is tools you have worked on. So there might be some tools that you are using on daily basis, like Jira, Confluence, X-Ray, or any bug tracking, or Charles Proxy for API and I mean, modification or API testing. So if you have mentioned that you have worked upon any of the tool, so interviewer might ask you about the tools. Suppose you have worked on Charles Proxy for API testing, so interviewer will ask you about what steps you have done to I mean, verify the different types of API, to check what all, how you used to modify the request data to get the expected error message or outcome of the APIs. So you should know about the detailing of the tool. And the next question is explain about the automation tools you have worked on. So how you perform testing using that tool in details. So obviously if you have mentioned that you have worked on automation tool, so he will definitely ask you about automation framework that you're using, whether it's a BDD, whether it's a hybrid or data driven, what are the design pattern that you are using, and what are the reporting mechanism you are following, how you used to call the page object, your framework structure, he might ask you. And in many cases they want you to write the structure of your framework, like what all tools and technology you use. Have you used listeners, have you extend report, Allure report, and Cucumber? What are the keywords that you have used in writing your test? Have you used test ng or JUnit and all those things? About the automation they might ask you. Like the ninth question, the same is for 10th, framework and types of framework. So if you are saying that you have worked upon multiple types of framework, so he might ask you about some details of those frameworks. So the intention of the interviewer is to identify that have you really worked upon or worked on those framework, or you just writing your test script just to automate the manual test cases. That's it. Because if you have worked on creating framework, then you will have a different confidence. And if you are just writing the test cases or test script, then obviously you don't have that much idea about in and out of that framework. Like if somebody asks you, if I need to send some details in my end report that is being generated by extend or allure, so how I can send my content in the report? If I want to send some data in that report, so how you are going to send it? If you haven't worked on framework level, then you might get difficulties in explaining this problem. So you have to be very specific about the statement written or the things written in your resume. So the same is explain about your frameworks, the test ng. If you're using test ng, JUnit, or any other thing, you should know Maven. So when I say Maven, the interviewer will ask you about the Maven lifecycle, like clean, install, compile, package, install, deploy, and what all the Maven lifecycle and all those things, how Maven works, what are the structure that Maven follow, what is the full form of POM.xml, that is project object models. Sometimes we got confused with page object model, but here when Maven says pom.xml, it is a project object model. The next question would be agile testing. So this is a very important part of your testing interview. Like what is agile testing? So how you used to do the agile testing? What are the meeting that used to happen while if you are working on an agile methodology, and you should have some meetings like a sprint backlog, product backlog, from starting from the product backlog to sprint backlog, sprint planning, sprint scrum, and sprint story, user story demo, your story, sprint retrospective and sprint closure activity and all those things. So you should know about the agile and all. And the next question is where you track the defects and the task. So you must be using some tools like we are using Jira and all those things. So uh, that is another important part of the testing life cycle. So, and the next question is did you document of your work? How you efficient is your documentation? So it mean to say, if you are using, if you are executing your test case, you must have written your test cases somewhere in a document or in any tool. So how you what all columns you used to have in your. So the next question is, as we were discussing about the documentation of your test case, test plan, or any strategy that you are following for any specific project, the interviewer might ask you about that. like what all things you, and what are the uh, reporting document that you guys used to follow to report the status of that project in to the upper management. So you should, I mean, if you are using anything, then you have to tell all those things. So once you, I mean, once you are done with this round, then I mean, you'll, HR will call you for the next round. That is again one-to-one round. So in the next round, the interviewer will ask you about, again, if you have answered in a cucumber related thing in your previous interview or previous round. So again, the interviewer, he would be the senior guy, or he might be the lead or manager. So he might ask you about the cucumber specific thing. So I mean, this round will be some detailing of your work. Like in previous round, we have, I mean, first round was covering the basic details of your framework or basic detail of your automation or manual testing. So this round is more specific about your work. Like, I mean, in this round, interviewer might ask you about writing some code or writing some automation script to automate one of the web page, or anything. He might ask you write down the X path of any element. He might share you, or he might give you some HTML where you have to find out the X path of that, and what all the annotation that you are going to use in Cucumber, how to execute your test in Cucumber by feature, I mean, through feature file or through any runner file. If I need to do some parallel automation, what steps you have to taken for executing test in parallel. So you should know, and he might ask you about the question around it. So I mean, if you have I mean, raised some defects, then obviously uh, interviewer might ask you, tell me about the bugs you have found during the testing. So what are the important defects that you have found during the interview, during the testing? You have to explain all those defects, any critical defect, any defect that I mean, that is very severe, and you got the appreciation from the your team or as well as your manager. Then you have to I mean, explain all those details to him. Functional testing, what all functional testing you have done, how you proceed with or how you started with the writing test cases, what all things you have done. Again, question is automated automation testing tools you have worked on. So same, I mean, if you are using other than Cucumber, if you mention anything, so the question is more about detailing of your previous interview round. So once you have, or he might ask you some Java related question, some string reverse related question, some identify duplicate character in a string or in an array or anywhere. So he might ask you the occurrence of any character or any string in a longer string. So some question regarding it, or sorting any array or Java or list, something like that. So once you are done with the second round and you got a green signal from the HR, then the next round will be the HR round. So when so what are the interview question that HR might ask you is regarding the feed. I mean, HR can ask you about the feedback, or like how was your interview, first round, second round, what you are feeling, have you given the correct answers, or so all those things. In this HR round, they will ask you about the salary expectation. If you have mentioned or I mean, if you had a discussion with HR regarding the expectation, then the same in HR interview, the HR will ask you, or I mean, negotiate with you salary. And some he want to get some detail, or he or she want to get some detail from your previous job, like what you have done in your previous. And so this is something like fit and mend round, like and again, the basic question, tell me about yourself. So the So this is all about TCS interview question that might ask you. So the important part of these 47 lines in this notepad is like, if you have mentioned correct detail in your resume and you are pretty much clear about those things, then nobody can stop you in cracking that interview, because whatever you have written in your resume and you know about it, then your interview will be cracked. So all the best for your interview, and please share it, subscribe it, and like it, so that I can write another company's interview questions, and this will help you in cracking or preparing yourself for interview. So thank you for watching. Happy testing.